Hey guys, CJ here, and I just wanted to make a quick video really discussing something that's been floating around the internet for the last couple days. And I'd like to start by saying this is unconfirmed, extremely unofficial, and I'm just going off the top of my head here. I don't have notes for this. This is just my unfiltered thoughts on something that has floated around the web regarding Avengers 3, and that is the fact that rumors, heavy rumors, like this is being covered by a lot of people. Go just type in Avengers 3 split into Google, and you'll find dozens of news articles from fairly reputable sources about this. There's a very real chance that Avengers 3 will be split into two movies. Now, we've seen this before. This wouldn't be the first time this has happened. A lot of you, if you've gone to the theaters at all in the last 4 years, you'll know that Harry Potter split its final movie based on the book The Deathly Hallows into two movies. Twilight did it with Breaking Dawn, two movies there. Hunger Games is going to do it. The first movie comes out this December. The next part of the final book will come out next December. Hobbit was split into three movies just to cover all of the all of the stuff that's going on in The Hobbit. As we know, Tolkien pretty famously long-winded and very descriptive. But it's a controversial topic because every time a movie franchise splits its finale into two separate films, it seems to me that most of the outcry from the public, outcry giving away what it is, most of the response from the public tends to be overwhelmingly negative. And so I think if they do this, there will be an initial kind of just public beating of Marvel, like, what are you doing? You're just doing this for profits. And I'm going to address that a little bit later. But I think everybody's going to have to lay off. It's like, I'm a Marvel fan, that. I'm it's not like I love Marvel blindly and I hate DC. It would be, it would be for profits. I'm not going to deny that. But on the other hand, it's also, it's a kind of killing two birds with one stone, because not only would you be doing it for profits, but you'd also be getting, potentially a more concise story, a story that involves more, and you would be tackling one of the chief criticisms of Avengers 1, at the same time, that not everybody got enough screen time, not everybody got, fleshed out enough. Specifically Hawkeye, that was the big knock on Avengers, was that Hawkeye had like no screen time, which is pretty true. He had nothing to do. But I mean, it's not a terrible thing. I mean, some movies have pulled it off better than others. I think Twilight really didn't have to. Harry Potter did a very good job with theirs because that was a big book. And that's another reason why a lot of people are maybe up in arms about this, is because previously this has only been done by, book franchises. This has only been handled by, franchises with books that are, 700, 800, even, thousands of pages long, in that last book, and they've got a lot to wrap up, and so that's why they they split it into two movies or three movies, and they say, we're gonna put as much of the story as we can into this finale. We're gonna wrap as much as we can into this finale in order to give the fans what they want. But the negative folks, the negative Nancys, will say, oh, it's all for profit. And as I said before, killing two birds with one stone. Yes, in the case of Harry Potter, I think the finale, part 2, made way more money than part 1. They both were, hundreds of millions of dollars, but combined it was, well over $1 billion, if I remember correctly. So there's a part of it that is for profit, yes, but I think, large, by far and away, that if you make a movie with more of the story in it, people are probably going to be more likely to go see it. And I think that's definitely what Marvel would be trying to do, is combat the issues with Avengers 1, and also just try to include everybody that's in this vast Marvel universe, because we're already running into an issue with, in Avengers 1, you had trouble fitting everyone on screen, and that was not a short movie. And that's before we really got this universe even off the ground. And so now we're going to have, Captain America is coming back, and all the original Avengers are coming back, and you throw in all the new characters, it's going to be even harder for people to find screen time. And to explain even some backstories, it'll be almost a struggle for them, I think, to explain Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. And then we look at Phase 3, and Phase 3 has a lot of heroes that we haven't even heard from. We've got Scott Lang, who's getting his introduction on Ant-Man, yes, but then we also might have Black Panther. Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is going to come out, but then we're also going to have the Guardians of the Galaxy show up in Avengers. So we're going to have potentially as many as 15 heroes on the screen, all fighting Thanos, and we've got to actually introduce Thanos and figure out who he is, figure out, especially if they're going to have, folks like Corvus Glaive, the Ebony Maw, if we're going to have all of them in the movie, they all need introductions. And so when you start to look at that, it starts to pile up, and, you break out a calculator. Look at how much time each person got in Avengers, multiply that by, 3 or 4, and you've got pretty much as much time as you might need for, Avengers 3. It's a very rough calculation, but, you definitely are going to have a very hard time establishing everybody and fleshing them out enough to the point where audiences are satisfied. And so, to me, I can see the pros and cons of this. I can be pretty neutral on this. My personal belief is that it's a good thing. It's overall. Although I'm going to tell you, I will probably die in the wait between the movies, because that'll definitely just kill me if I've got to wait like a year and a half, especially if they do a cliffhanger thing. Like, say Thanos gets the Infinity Gauntlet right before. It's like he gets the gauntlet, credits, and then I'm just dead on the floor waiting for. Or I go into a coma and wake up when the next part comes out. But and so there are positives and negatives to both sides. But honestly, I think it would essentially be a good thing. Now, you can make your own decision, of course, in the comments below. Please, tell me what you think. Is it going to be a good move? More of the story, more of tying together the plot threads, or is it going to be a bad thing? Is it just all for profit? And who knows? This would certainly affect the contract situation if it's 2 separate films. And on that note, I would love to reiterate the fact that this is completely unverified. I think a lot of people are just extrapolating based on what franchises seem to be doing. This seems to be the trend with big franchises, to split the finale into 2 pieces. So I personally think this is all just a rumor. I don't think this even comes from anybody within Marvel Studios. I think this is just somebody saying, oh, Harry Potter did it, Twilight did it, Hobbit did it, man, Hunger Games is doing it, everybody's doing it, so they got to do it too. I think it's mostly that, but it brings up a good point. Should they do it? I'm gonna say maybe. If it's an option, and the 2 possibilities are, A, everybody gets fleshed out fully, but it's 2 movies, you got to pay twice, and you got to wait like a year and a half in between it, then I'd still say advantage to splitting it. But if you say, oh, well, they're not actually gonna, most people are gonna be set up before this movie, Thanos is gonna be set up before this movie, all we're gonna have to explain is why the Guardians of the Galaxy and the Avengers meet, then I'm maybe a little more towards not doing it. But in terms of erring on the side of everybody being really developed characters, or maybe some folks being undeveloped but not having to wait or pay twice for the movie, I don't know. You could go either way. So yes, in the comments below, tell me your thoughts. I'd really love to hear from you. We can probably get a good discussion going on this topic. Should they split it into 2 movies? And I go back and forth. There are positives and negatives on both sides. And like I said, I'm just going off the top of my head here. So you're getting just the raw, unfiltered thoughts. But anyways, I'm now all worked up. I've got to figure out. It's like woosah. It's not coming out until 2019 at least. But anyways, yes, that's all from me here. Signing off as the White Sheep, and I'll see you next time.